Hey everybody, today we are looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Tripwire with Apsara and M.A.C.L.E.O.D. Apsara being the mind-sniffing giant rat, and M.A.C.L.E.O.D. being the mind-sniffing wheeled robot. This is a pretty cool release, deluxe figure, very much a deluxe figure. I mean, you get a lot of stuff in here. When Tripwire was announced as a deluxe figure, I don't think I was alone in thinking, what? Tripwire has always felt like a very basic figure as far as the vintage figure goes. You know, you get the backpack with the mines and the mine detector. He didn't really come with anything else, and I didn't really know what they might include to make it a deluxe figure, but here we are, and I think it's worth every bit of the deluxe tag that we got. So first, let's take a look at the package. We get the digital render on the cover there with Tripwire, you know, all his gear, all his equipment. He's got Apsara. I keep wanting to say Aspara, but it's Apsara. And then M.A.C.L.E.O.D. over on the side here. And I think the reference here, and usually I don't get the references, but I think I might have gotten this one. I think this is from the first G.I. Joe miniseries. Now, I don't remember Tripwire being in this scene, but in the first G.I. Joe miniseries, when they go and get the radioactive, is it Energon? I don't know. I can't remember what it was called. But they got the radioactive element that they needed, but it was like a trap, you know, and then the shield came down, and Snake Eyes and Scarlet, you know, shared their little moment. I'm pretty sure that's what that's from. But I don't know. I could be wrong. If I'm totally wrong, let me know in the comments. Which I fully expect that I could be, like I said. Then we get the full loadout, and like I said, very much a deluxe figure. We get a whole bunch of gear in here. More on that when we get to the accessories. Then we get the artwork in on the side there. And then, like I said, there it is. Tripwire, Apsara, and M.A.C.L.E.O.D. We get the blue computer digital kind of looking art on the side there. Number 78, a QR code, and then all his tiny little call outs there for his specialties, his skills. They get called out on the back of the box as well. I was surprised when the Range Viper didn't have these, and I thought to myself, like, am I crazy? Like, are these not on the backs of boxes? And then I checked all the other boxes, and sure enough, there they are. This one is a hockey stick. No, that's the mine detecting one, but it looks like a hockey stick, which I think is funny. I don't normally look at these, but it's like he's got bombs, no bombs, dynamite, and a hockey stick. So, you know, interesting stuff on there. Tripwire himself is 6.2 inches tall, or 157 millimeters. Then you see the full loadout of all the stuff that we're going to get in the box there. The sort of alternate outfit, you know, the more modern bomb disposal gear to go along with the vintage inspired gear, and then a couple of call outs to a couple of the details. The helmet looks really, really good. I'm hoping it's as good as it looks. And then, you know, the little sigil on his shoulder pad, the little icon on his shoulder pad looks pretty cool too. And then on the other side, of course, we get the full length box art. He looks really menacing for a mine detector. But, you know, why not, I suppose. Number 78, for those of you keeping track and counting. So there he is. Let's get this guy out of the box. I feel like I'm, you know, I had the inclination, the thought that I was like cutting a little wire, you know, like every time you see bomb disposal in a movie, they got a little set of like nippers where they're cutting a thing. Anyway. All right, so first impressions of the figure. It's a really, really good looking figure. Despite being a deluxe sort of package, the figure itself is fairly basic, fairly straightforward. Not a ton of paint apps, not a ton of color going on here. Just a very classic vintage inspired Tripwire. The sort of fatigue green and then the grays. There's not a ton of paint apps on the parts. Most of the parts themselves are sort of colored, you know, in like they're that color of plastic. You know, and some of the ones that are there are fairly subtle, like a little bit of darker gray on top of the lighter gray. Again, darker gray on top of the lighter gray on the gloves. A hit of green on the vest, a couple dark gray hits on the vest. Like I said, that icon on the shoulder there. The face sculpt is pretty good. The face deco is a little too shiny. I'm hoping that I might be able to take a little bit of that gloss off of there. Especially this eyebrow. Like the eyebrow is painted well, but you get so much glare off of it that it looks like it's kind of missing a chunk, and I think that's picking it up on the camera too. All in all, a really, really great figure. One of the interesting things that they've done here is with the vest. Now, most of the G.I. Joe Classified series has vests that you can remove if you take off an arm, if you sort of pop and swap an arm. But what they've done with this one is they've actually put little mushroom pegs in the side of the vest, so it pops open. So it looks really, really wide on the figure, but part of the reason for that, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to sort of show, but you could sort of see this, it's not pegged in perfectly. So a nice hot bath, I think, is going to be great. You know, I'll be able to pop that in nice and snug. And I might even, because I'm accustomed to kit bashing these figures, I might even pop an arm off, pop the vest off, tighten it up a little bit, glue it, and then just put it on that way, as I would if it was a kit bash, rather than, you know, leave these pegs. Because I'll be honest, I'm gonna 100% have this guy on my shelf in his sort of OG suit, rather than the more upgraded one. To that point, I may take these shoulder pads off as well, if I'm being perfectly honest. He seems too bulky for me, for my tastes. But you know, you get that option with this guy, because he does come with so many great accessories. He does come with, you know, the outfit change basically. So let's take a look at the accessories. First, the star of the accessories is going to be Apsara, the little mine detecting rat. This is a great addition. I think this is just sort of a fun thing to add to the lore, you know, to have an animal companion, you know, a deluxe figure with pet. Like, I mean, that goes above and beyond, right? We're now getting two categories of figures in one. It's a small little thing. There's not much going on here. The paint apps are pretty good. Then, of course, the mine detecting robot, M.A.C.L.E.O.D, which of course is an acronym for, hold on, let me get the box. The Mobile Armored Control Lever for Explosive Ordnance Disposal. Shout out to Chris, not McLeod, M.A.C.L.E.O.D, of the Full Force podcast. The namesake of this little robot. You know, so that's pretty cool, man. To be sort of part of G.I. Joe lore like that as a G.I. Joe fan has got to be a pretty cool thing. But you know, that aside, this is a pretty cool little robot. I did hope that these were there was some articulation here. I did hope that these would sort of move, but they are fixed. There is a decent amount of articulation. You know, the arm rotates. The arm goes up and down at 1, 2, 3 joints in the thing here. The jaws don't articulate at all, but that's okay. I can live with the articulation that we did get. Like I said, it's just a really cool addition, and I think for, you know, a mine detector to have a mine detecting robot in 2023 makes a lot of sense. So, like I said, definitely helps fill out that sort of deluxe ness to the figure. Of course, we get the very classic backpack with the ability to port the mine on there. Now you can only put one on. Speaking of the mines, we got 2 mines in the box here. You can only put one on. The issue is that once you put one on, there's not any way to get it out. So beware, you know, plug it in there at your own risk, because it's not easy to get them back out. So you've been warned. There's the second mine. I'll put the second mine right there up front. Of course, we have, again, very, very classic, the mine detector itself, which looks very much like the vintage one, apart from this not being round. You know, this is probably, I don't know if this is what a modern mine detector looks like. I can only assume that it's more in line with what a modern one looks like compared to the one from the 80s. But it looks pretty good. I mean, it's pretty vintage inspired, and I don't know the difference, so to me it works. It works perfectly. We get the hose to connect the detector to the backpack, of course, because you have to have that. But because this is a modern update, we're gonna get this little radio control thing for M.A.C.L.E.O.D, presumably. It's a little bit basic, you know, given that we've seen a few of these that have had a little bit of deco and some sort of visuals to them. I would have maybe liked a little bit more to this particular accessory. There's not even much as far as the sculpt goes. Now, again, it could entirely be that this is just bang on for like what is used in you know, modern mine detecting, for all I know. That's 100% accurate. So, you know, maybe it's just me not knowing, and knowing is something. He gets a pistol as well, which is nice. You know, you don't want to be a military guy without a pistol, some sort of sidearm. So that only makes sense. Some neck protection, of course, because if you're detecting mines, that's necessary as well. I'm running out of room for all these accessories, is what's happening here. And I'm not done. There's still more. The helmet is here. The helmet, as expected, looks really, really, really good. I really like how this looks. My only complaint, we've now seen visors that are clear, and I just wish that this was clear. You know, it like we got with the Cobra eels. Now maybe it's not possible. The whole thing is molded in this green plastic, and then it's painted. So I wonder if that was just sort of a means to save a little bit of cost, because I can't help but think that, you know, trying to fuse two plastics to get that clear lens in might have just been a few cents more than they could sort of fit into the budget. The helmet looks great regardless, and it's still going to look fantastic, all geared up when we get to that point. So, as I said, we do get sort of a costume change for this guy as well. So you get that vest as well as this vest, which is a little bit more heavy duty. It comes up a little bit higher. You know, the collar is cut a little bit higher. The straps are a little bit wider, so on and so forth. So, or is this the more vintage inspired? Now I can't remember. Which one's which? Oh well, I'll have to try them both and see. And I'll have to I'll double check it against the vintage figure. But yeah, there you get two options. As I said, you know, this they've designed it with the mushroom pegs there, so it's gonna pop right into, you know, you pop the mushroom pegs on that, slip it off the head. This will slip right on, and then you just go ahead and plug those in. And you've got, you know, a whole different figure. So if you wanna display this guy with you know, all of his accessories, you're gonna need a pair of them, of course, which I can't help but think may have been somewhat intended on the part of Hasbro. I don't speak for Hasbro, but you know, good way to get people to buy multiples is to give people display options. So the mushroom pegs themselves, you know, are hit or miss. Like I said, heating this thing up, I'm sure they're going to pop right into place. 3 out of 4 popped in really, really easily. And then the fourth one doesn't want to go in. But like I said, with a little bit of heat, you shouldn't have an issue with that at all. Is this going to stand up? No, it's not going to stand up. We'll sit it right back there. Then, of course, we get a much, much bigger collar. to go with the alternate vest, and a much bigger helmet, full blast cover. It looks to be, you know, a similar looking helmet itself, but definitely you can see, you know, much more to the protective nature of this one. I think if you were truly detecting and dismantling or disabling mines, this would probably be the helmet that you would want to be wearing. But what do I know? I don't know anything about disabling landmines. I don't know anything about anything. I'm talking about action figures. So there is all the accessories. Let's get this guy fully loaded up in what I believe to be the sort of vintage look. So here he is, all geared up. He looks incredible. I mean, this figure looks fantastic. I don't really know what to say. I'm very impressed with this figure. All geared up, he looks ridiculously good. I didn't expect him to look this good. I'm getting the same kind of feeling about Tripwire that I did about Barbecue, in terms of how good the details are, in terms of like how fun this figure is. I've put everything on him. I think ultimately on my display, I may do it without the collar, without the shoulder pads, to be like as sort of vintage inspired as I can kind of get away with. But he looks great. I mean, all geared up. The helmet looks fantastic. This collar looks really good. I think I'll probably display it without the collar, but the collar looks really good. It fits really well, you know, when you get it in place properly, as it is now. He looks really good. He looks really cool. If that, I don't know, you know, I just get a really cool vibe from Tripwire. The backpack looks great with the hose and the mine detector. I like that they stayed pretty vintage, pretty classic with the mine detector, and didn't do anything too crazy. I think I like the vintage look. I'm, you know, I'll try to figure with the bulkier stuff on, but I don't know how it could look better than this, if I'm being perfectly honest. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. Just the way he is right now. But let's try that other gear just for reference, just so that we know. And here we have Tripwire in the more modern, updated, probably more realistic and accurate get up. He looks much more bomb disposally, much more landmine disposally. He looks a little bit uncomfortable. You know, I gave him the little remote control there. He's got, you know, M.A.C.L.E.O.D getting the mine. I mean, it's cool that this exists. It's cool that they gave us this option. But for me, I hate to say it, I'm always the guy that's saying I want the more modern, updated, you know, take on the G.I. Joe classified figures. But the more vintage look is the look for me. It's cool to have these accessories, and, you know, they will, I'm not going to get rid of them or anything like that. But 100% on my display, it's going to be the classic Tripwire, because I think that's just a really cool look. I don't need him to look super realistic. I need it to look cool. So there he is with the full loadout. I went ahead and pulled the shoulder, you know, guards off. I think it looks fantastic like this as well. I'm kind of torn between, you know, the vintage inspired with the collar and the shoulder pad things, or this look. The more modern look just doesn't really do it for me. Maybe it does it for you. What I was pleasantly surprised by was when you take that cuff off with the sigil, you still get that icon sort of on the shirt. So you can still display them like this and still get the that cool look. I forgot to mention that the mine detector does plug into the backpack as well, so that can hang out there when he's sort of not, you know, actively detecting mines. As I said, this figure is 10 out of 10 for me. This is a very pleasant surprise. I was excited to get this figure. I was excited to get this character. I was pretty hyped on M.A.C.L.E.O.D as well. Shout out to Chris again. But yeah, definitely a figure that I would strongly recommend. I think it's a Pulse exclusive, but well worth picking it up if that's the only way that you can get it. Now, if you can find it from a retailer, go ahead and do that. I normally get all my G.I. Joe classified figures from eCollectibles.ca, but every once in a while I do have to order something from Hasbro, unfortunately. And that was the case with this guy, but I'm happy that I did. Great figure. Strongly recommend you guys get it. It fits that kind of balance between a very vintage inspired feel when you do it like this. And I actually thought of it too. And just for the reference, I'll just pull this guy in. There's the vintage figure. The vintage figure doesn't have the thigh stuff, so you could take the thigh protection off there too and go like full on vintage version 1 look. But yeah, like I said, I kind of like, you know, the collar piece that might make its way back on, the shoulder parts might make their way back on, but altogether a fantastic figure. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you don't want to miss anything, hit that bell icon for notifications. Until next time, bye-bye.